the lights. Super Sentai and Spiderman? So first to begin, everyone in America was probably introduced to Sentai through Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or Power Rangers in some form. Before that came Voltron or Go Lion in America. Woo. Well, it even originated before that in Japan because Go Lion was essentially an anime version of Sentai. Because you had the 5-color heroes wearing sort of spandex piloting robot lions that would form and destroy monsters. Now, with Super Sentai, it didn't start out that way. Originally, Shotaro Ishinomori had great success with a series called Kamen Rider. So Toei decided to take that and up the ante on that and have a team of superheroes, which was originally Go Ranger. Show the clip of Go Ranger.
Thank you. Oh. I pressed play.
イーグルにボンブロック各奇襲の奇襲作戦に成功大成功を収めたこれで我らの日本侵略を邪魔する者はいなくなったあとは侵略あるのみだ待て待て
So, Himitsu Sentai Gold Ranger was a series that the Black Cross Army attacked basically all these installations that could rebel against them, fight against them, and 5 survivors became the Rangers. This series was pretty successful in Japan and lasted 85 episodes. So it was nearly a year and a half. So Toei decided to start out and do a sequel series called Jacker, which would star 4 superheroes with a card game theme.
Yokoso, Jacker 諸君。君はスペードエースだ。スペードエース。君はダイヤジャック。ダイヤジャック。彼、ハートクイーンだ。
ハートクイーン。
そしてクローバーキング。クローバーキング。ジャッカー・クバックは原子、電気、磁力、重力4大エネルギーを一瞬のうちに相手の体内に注入して爆発させる恐るべき必殺武器なのだ。
was actually a failure.
Never would have guessed.
They brought in a fifth ranger called Big One to try to save the franchise, who pretty much became the face of that series. But even he couldn't save it. So the series was actually canceled at 34 episodes. So that seemed like that was the end. Well, Marvel had decided they had back in '77, because Spider-Man was one of their most popular characters, they tried their hand at an American live-action series of Spider-Man.
Oh dear. Oh no.
Hey, look! It's that Spider-Man! It's really him! Miss, please come back inside and let's talk, okay?
No! I'm all through talking!
That was thrilling, wasn't it?
And that was actually the first scene of that very first episode.
Oh, good.
It started off with the girl wanting to jump.
Oh my god.
So Toei saw how successful Spider-Man was, and Spider-Man was very popular in Japan. So a man named Toru Hiroyuki decided he wanted to work with Marvel to bring Spider-Man and Captain America to Japan. So what they did is they decided first to start in 1978, after the cancellation of JECA, to release Spider-Man. But Bandai had also started taking over interest with Toei, and they wanted a robot to sell toys, because robots were a big rage then. Toys were selling well if they were robots. So this Spider-Man series brought in the first live-action transforming mecha in Japan, which was, for some reason, a cat-type creature called Leprechaun.
Leopard, then, if you want to make it easier.
In fact, this Spider-Man even showed up more last year in a Spider-Man in the Marvel Comics crossover series, Spider-Verse, where all the different universes of Spider-Man kind of just started merging into one universe to take out these evil vampire-like beings. So they actually had Leprechaun in the comic, and there's even like two of the different Spider-Mans are talking. Like, yeah, there's this Japanese guy with a robot. There's a guy that looks like the guy from Seabiscuit. There's one that looks like the guy from what was the Social Network.
I think they should just reference Kick-Ass, but...
And it was just, and that funny thing is, it was the Black Symbiote Spider-Man talking to a different Spider-Man and they were just comparing their lives. So Toei decided to try this Spider-Man. Bandai required that there be a giant robot in it to fight. Now the storyline is Takuya is this race car driver, and his dad is killed. So and he ends up being given the powers of Spider-Man through this guy who's from the alien race called the Spider Race.
Original name is original.
From Planet Spider.
Yes, from Planet Spider. So they did this show, and it was surprisingly successful.
Surprising.
It lasted 41 episodes. The robot toys did a pretty good job. However, when watching it, it's pretty much the same episode every time. If you watch the first episode and the 41st episode back to back, which is what I did, you would not know that there was anything in between it.
Oh, good.
It's one of those kind of shows, huh?
So let's show
Okay, we
Spider-Man.
have our prize.
I hiked up 14 floors of stairs for this.
Isn't it a pain?
At least he did, because I'd have a heart attack.
さあ僕においで。鉄12段のリーダーモンスター長寿はそれをやるつもりだった。父さん父さん父さん父さん俺を一人にしないでくれ父さん。私はガリだ。スパイダー戦士だ。お前に目だ。よくも父さんを。しっかりしろ。このままでは死んでしまう。スパイダーです。Am I on drugs? Yes, you are. But that really is Metallica.
Here comes the Spiderman. Is he strong? Listen up. He's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from the thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spiderman.
Sorry, no. My fans expect a certain amount of quippage in every battle.
80時間マシン弁オープン流だ。行くぞ。
Amen.
And yet somehow that explosion in that episode still looks more real than the Death Kappa explosion.
Yeah, I recently reviewed on my YouTube channel a movie called Death Kappa, and it was awful.
Bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
just wait, I got some bad ones for you.
So,
Are we talking like Tokuju bad or like hentai common bad?
Anti-common.
Okay.
So-
Had to clarify.
one thing that's also significant about Leprechaun in Spider-Man is in the first two Sentai series, Gold Ranger and Jaka, they didn't have mechs. They just had vehicles that would just shoot at the villains. So that's all they had. So most of the time, what I showed at the beginning, when they were destroying the monsters with their own weaponry, that was how it was done. So now, Spider-Man was pretty successful. Toy sales were pretty good. Toei was going to do a Captain America show. Well, because of Bandai, Hiroyuki left Toei because he didn't want to have anything to do with Toei and Sentai and those shows anymore, because he wanted to actually write the shows, not have them be based around the toys. So Toei went along without him to continue doing, at first they were going to do a Captain America show. Well, they decided Captain America wouldn't really work well in Japan. So they decided they were going to rename him as Captain Japan.
Yeah.
Well, Captain Japan, they just also decided it might not work out so well being his own character. So at first, they went with a group of captains, which it could have ended up being something like this.
Wait, what?
Stand down, captains!
I am Captain Brazil. This is Captain Australia.
G'day, wolf guy.
Captain Brazil.
So good to meet you.
And Captain Liechtenstein.
Tiny but economically prosperous! Wow, that scares the bad guys.
You already know Captain America.
Oh my god.
By the way, for those of you who didn't realize, that red and white one, that was Wolverine.
Yeah, so it could have been a show all about a team of captains for different forces. So, but instead they decided to go with the name Battle Fever, because Saturday Night Fever had just come out and was very popular.
Damn that John Travolta.
So they decided to name the show Battle Fever J for Japan. And they decided that instead of having an ethnocentric bunch of superheroes, they were all Japanese that just grew up in the countries they represent. So you have Battle Japan, Battle Russia, Battle Kenya, Battle
France.
Battle France, and Miss America.
I thought one of them was named Battle Cossack.
Yes. Battle Cossack for Russia.
Yes.
Now, those who might know the series Space Sheriff Gavan, the guy who plays Gavin is actually Battle Kenya in this show. Well, Toei decided because of the success with Leprechaun in toys, they were going to have another robot. This time, though, they just had a single robot who would just fly out of a spaceship and would come down. He didn't transform. He was just like a giant samurai type being. Let's play Battle Fever J.
I'm sorry.
今までは邪悪なこの子で毒される無意味に満ちている。この世の偽の科学を打ち砕き、新しい科学、我らのエゴスの世界を作り上げるのだ。バトルジャパン、バトルコサック、バトルケニア。
ミス・アメリカン。
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that battle there, that was
Oh, yeah.
actually
What's your question?
the battle at the final episode of the series.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Can we just talk about the fact that they went into their, well, I'll be PG-13 and say pee hole?
Give
Yeah, you're
the
right.
whole meaning to cock.
Right through the
Having never seen that, and now I
And again,
can't
if you actually
unsee that.
really look at Miss America, it is not a miss.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
the stunt
Fair
double
enough
was
on that
amazing.
one.
I was like, wow, that stunt double is
And I played some of
very-
the Enders, that was more blatant.
But yes, the cockpits. I actually kept trying to come up with some type of joke for that. I'm like, I just
too easy.
No.
It's a joke in itself.
The name-
It's called a
Yeah,
cockpit.
The name alone.
what's that?
The name alone is, yeah.
Yeah, and
I
then
mean,
That's good for now.
it's like a little bit of a preview to what Turn A Gundam has.
But the show is very interesting because it does try to bring a cultural dynamic of other nations to Japan, which is not very common, at least during that time period, because it's still post-World War II. They're
it's the
still
peak.
very ethnocentric.
It's also the peak of the Cold War too.
And at least we can say they didn't whitewash it.
You could have done it. Fool, there are no women in Battle Fever J, only really effeminate men.
Keep telling yourself that.
But yes, so Battle Fever J also has significance because it was actually the last show before they started adding the Super Sentai moniker to the entire franchise. With the next series, Denjiman, it was the first one to be a Super Sentai series. Go Ranger and Jekka and Battle Fever J weren't added as subtitled with the Super Sentai series logo until Go Ranger came out for the anniversary, when they started to say, yeah, these are all Super Sentai.
That makes sense.
Except they still ignore Spiderman.
well, but Spider-Man was only one, so he should be in the Kamen Rider crossovers.
He was actually in a Super Sentai crossover at one point, wasn't he?
He was.
He also crossovered with V3.
That was an interesting one.
I actually have not seen V3.
The V3 crossover was interesting, to say the least.
I liked it because I found a picture where they were doing each other's poses. I liked that.
And some people have made jokes that the next version of V3 crossed over with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Please?
No, just a joke. Just a joke. Yeah, it was a joke picture. Our grandfathers crossed over with each
So
other.
before we get into our next series, we're gonna do.
Well, actually, I was gonna. So Denjiman comes about with the Super Sentai moniker, and it introduces a female character who will become a staple of Toku for years to come. Her name is Machiko Soga. Can anyone give me 3 series that she has appeared in?
You don't get to guess, Anthony.
Yes.
Does Denjiman count if I say that?
Which one?
Does Denjiman count if I say that one?
Can you think of 3 others?
Can't. I
Well,
know 2 other ones off the top of my
Which
head.
ones?
Maji Ranger and Zoo Ranger.
G-Ranger.
I know. Anyone know the 3rd?
Well, Anthony knows
Sorry.
everything.
I know, it's so hard.
What were the characters' names she played in those 2?
She was Pandora in Zoo Ranger and the Mistress of Magic or something in Maji Ranger.
Yeah, you have to.
Maji Mother.
Yeah.
Maji Mother.
There
It's
you
been a while
go.
since I've seen that.
She's actually, so in Denjiman here, she plays a character named Queen Hedorah. She actually survives this series and is one of the villains in the next series, Sun Vulcan. It is pretty much, until Gokaiger, this was pretty much the only, minus the Versus movies, this was the only time that one Sentai had something that crossed over into the next series. Because even in the first episode of Sun Vulcan, they show the Denjiman on a computer screen for the villain that the villains are watching. So Denjiman has significance because it was also the first Sentai series to have a transforming mech. So it was a ship that would then transform into a robot. And those of you that have seen more recent series and series of the 90s where the mechs are more intricate, more dynamic. If you were in my panel last year, I talked about how the mechs in the 90s evolved, got more angular. This mech is pretty boxy, and he is pretty tall.
That's just, it's
Oh, and also the villains that Queen Hidorian controls, they're called the Vader Empire.
Vader Empire.
Because Sentai at this time started to be highly influenced by Star Wars, because Star Wars blew up everywhere. So a lot of the series from this point forward would have aliens as the villains, do a lot of themes that were reminiscent to machines.
Basically, up until 5-Man, you had an influence of Star Wars on Sentai.
Yep, quite a bit. So here is Denjiman.
Yep.
鏡よ鏡、全宇宙で一番美しいのは誰？それはヘドリアン女王様でございます。よろしく。
女王様。ただいまレーター00。ムササビラが戻ってまいりました。
予想よりはるかに速い負荷ではないか。デンジレッツ。ワッチデンジブルー。デンジイエロー。デンジグリーン。 By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet. いけよ。デンジセンター。デンジマン。
spaceships faded out of existence in the 80s.
So also for Machiko Soga, a couple other series she appeared in. She was in Gavin for an episode as, I want to say it was a dance instructor. It was her first Toku appearance ever when she has like an afro. And then she also was one of the villains in Metalder, which was one of the series used in VR Troopers. And she also was an anime voice actress back in what, the 50s?
60s.
60s.
Oh, geez.
She did some really little unknown series that have pretty much just been lost to time in Japan.
Or if you're lucky enough, you did catch her in one of these old, and I mean really old Cyborg 009 animes as one of the cyborgs.
That's right. She was, I think, 7 or 8.
I can't remember. It's been years.
So Denjiman is a huge success. So they continue the storyline into Sun Vulcan. Sun Vulcan, it has become to be one of the highest rated and most popular Sentai series in Japan. It was the first series to feature a team of 3 Rangers. It was also the first series to have no female Ranger. And it was also the first series that had a combining mech. So there were, and then as I said, it's also the first series that had a recurring villain from the previous series into it. So Sun Vulcan has a lot of firsts, which is what attributes to it being one of the most popular series.
It's so popular, there is a satire series called Sun Red, an anime series, if you ever want to check it out.
I'll have to check that out later.
Yeah, and also it was the first time the Rangers had animal motifs.
They don't get them correct, but yes.
Essentially, red is an eagle, blue is a shark, and yellow is supposed to be a panther.
It's a
Ansa.
That can't swim.
So it was also, again, another significance. So it just, pretty much, kids loved it. It's considered one of the best series of the franchise, up there with Jetman, Die Ranger, and Deca Ranger. So let's see our final series, because this was the final series Marvel worked on with Toei before Marvel pretty much decided to get out of this game because they wanted to then bring Sun Vulcan to America. Stan Lee had this idea to Americanize the Sentai shows by putting American actors with Japanese footage, which then Ham Saban would try to do a couple years later until he finally succeeded. So the actual idea originally came from Stan Lee, but not a single network at that time wanted anything to do with it. So Marvel pretty much dropped out of working with Toei with the Super Sentai franchise because they weren't able to bring it to America, so they didn't want to have anything to do with it anymore. Yes?
I was just going to say, I remember, wasn't there also at one point a very bad, like, dub over of Dynaman?
Yes.
Yeah, that was
it lasted 9 episodes. They brought over 1983 series.
84.
They brought over to America Dynaman, where they just tried to dub it, and it was canceled after 9 episodes.
Nice.
So it was another failure until Haim Saban actually brought Jew Ranger to the States, and with the popularity of Jurassic Park, was able to get it taken off.
Good old timing.
On that, it was also because the person who was running the company, it took the test footage home, and her kid loved it.
Yes. Yeah. The head of the Fox network, she showed her son the footage that Haim Saban had given her, and he looked at her, watched it, and said, "When is this coming out?" And that is what sold Power Rangers to Fox.
So if you ever want to make a great TV show, find somebody who has a kid.
Well, it's just like with Kamen Rider. What has been said is that Ishinomori asked his son when he was creating Kamen Rider, what should I do as a motif for this superhero? And his son said, grasshoppers.
Okay.
And history was made.
I mean, hey, it sucked.
All right, let's do our final series.
機械帝国ブラックマグマの本部は北極海の氷の奥深く バルカンになるのだ。バルヒール、バルヒール。バルシャーク、バルシャーク。バルパンサー、バルパンサー。
Masterpiece right here.
So yeah, as you can see, that was one long transformation sequence. And I think what Toei loved about it is because at the time Sentai was running at 24 minutes an episode, so they got to they could just stretch out as much as they wanted with the transforming robots, transformation scenes, having each ranger repeat the same command over and over. And another thing that's first of that series is this is the first of many times there will be an evil machine empire. Because you will get the machine empire in, now my brain went blank. Here, O-Ranger and Go-Ranger.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that concludes this Sentai panel.
So,
they forgot about
did
the
anybody
machine
catch the
empire.
villain in Son Vulcan that his mask is a repurposed Darth Vader mask?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
I was actually talking
how did you not catch that? They call him Vader.
Yeah, no, that helmet was like part Darth Vader, part Stormtrooper, part Battle
Any
Fever jet.
questions before we head out?
Why the Lego have the
Alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this panel. If you had fun, I'm doing a Char Gundam panel tomorrow. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I've got business cards if you'd like to check out my YouTube channel. If not, have a good night and enjoy NDK.